Hello and welcome to the College of Liberal Arts Virtual Dean Showcase. My name is Carolyn Larson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Collegiate Recruitment here within the Office of Admissions. And I have the absolute privilege of being one of your hosts today. First things first, congratulations. Everyone joining us today has been admitted to the College of Liberal Arts here at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. This is a great accomplishment and we could not be more excited to take this next step with you and talk with you a little bit more about the College of Liberal Arts. We would, of course, love to have you on campus today to celebrate your accomplishments, but we're still so excited to have you joining us from home. We have a great hour planned for you, but before we start, let's meet our co-host for the day, Brian Ung.
Hey, what's good, y'all? How's it going? Welcome everyone to the CLA Dean's Showcase. We're so excited to have you all here. Thank you for joining us on this Friday evening. Again, my name is Brian Ung, and I'll be one of your virtual hosts this evening. To get us started, we have a very special message for all of you from our Dean, Dean Coleman. Let's roll the clip.
Welcome to the Dean Showcase. I'm John Coleman. I'm the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, and I am thrilled that you're considering attending CLA and the University of Minnesota. We think this is the right place for you to be, and over the next hour, we want to give you some reasons why we think this would be a place for you to thrive and to grow. We want to give you a picture of how you fit into CLA and how you will be guided along your journey here in the college and at the university, and how you will be supported during that journey as well. What I want you to know, what I want you to hear from us is that the CLA family, the CLA community is one of support, and it's one where you will find your place. We will be there right alongside you to make sure that you succeed, that you thrive, that you discover opportunities that you didn't know exist, and that you come out after 4 years with your degree extremely confident and ready to step into the next stages of your life. Again, I am thrilled that you are considering CLA. I hope that you find the Dean Showcase to be very informative. Please enjoy the next hour, and at any time if you have questions, get right back in touch with us.
Dean Coleman is just one of the many individuals within the College of Liberal Arts who are here to support you. That CLA family that he referred to actually starts here today. We are so thrilled to share that we have students from 29 different states joining us in 14 different countries here today. Before we dive into our panels, I want to cover just a bit of housekeeping. So please feel free to reference the landing page throughout the program today. This will act as both an itinerary for the day, but it will also provide the names of each of our panelists. As we progress through the next hour, please feel free to submit your questions via the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom webinar. If we're not able to get to your question today and you'd like us to follow up with you, please do not submit it anonymously. Over the next hour, we'll be sharing more about what it means to be part of the CLA community. This will include 3 15-minute panel sessions with current students, staff, and alumni. Our first segment will cover orientation and weeks of welcome. Our second will take a look into the first year experience courses that our students take part in. And lastly, we'll discuss the ever popular career preparation. Each topic will be introduced by a brief video from my co-host Brian. And if at any time you get disconnected, please refer back to the landing page to re-enter the Zoom webinar. Okay, let's get started. As a CLA student, one of your first opportunities to build community and relationships is through orientation and weeks of welcome. Here's Brian to tell us more.
You've applied, you've been accepted, and now you're ready to start at the College of Liberal Arts. Congrats! The first step in your CLA journey takes you to your orientation and our weeks of welcome. These events give you the chance to learn about resources in CLA and throughout the university. Plus, get to know our campus and meet fellow CLA students. It's a pretty good time. At orientation, you'll meet your Cla Academic Advisor. This advisor is a key ally for your entire time in CLA. Your advisor will help you chart your path and answer all sorts of questions you might have, from registering for classes to finding research opportunities. They're also a valuable soundboard for you. You can go to them when life gets, complicated. After all, college throws a lot at you. Our advisor's job is to point you towards resources that will help you balance your studies, your responsibilities, and your personal health, all along the way to graduation and what's next. As we like to say, no matter where you're from, no matter where you're headed, we're here to help you find your way.
Looks fun, doesn't it? One thing we wanted to mention before we get started with our wonderful panelists is that things are going to look a little bit different this summer. Most everyone who's attending today has had to change the way that they engage with their teachers, coaches, family, and friends in response to COVID-19. And we at the University of Minnesota and the College of Liberal Arts have also had to change the way that we engage with our students. So the images of the students meeting on one-on-one in an office with their advisors that you just saw are just going to look a little bit different this summer. But I can promise you that one thing won't change, and that is the expertise of our advisors and their dedication to their students. So with that being said, let's meet our panelists to discuss more about orientation and weeks of welcome. So our first panelist is Malika Chadaga. And Malika is a student ambassador within the College of Liberal Arts. She's a sophomore, double majoring in music therapy and psychology. Our next panelist is Bobby Weston, and Bobby is our Assistant Director of Advising within the College of Liberal Arts. There's Bobby. And lastly, we have the wonderful Alex Hines, who is the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the College of Liberal Arts. Thank you all so much for joining us today. There's Alex. So our first question is actually for Malika. So in the video, we saw that students start to meet people in CLA during orientation. What happened at your own orientation that was important to you?
There were so many great things about orientation, meeting people for the first time, seeing campus for the first time, being an out-of-state student. But something I was really grateful for was meeting my advisor for the first time. And I know how scary it is coming into college, not knowing how to sign up for classes, not knowing how to map out your degree progress over your 4 years. And so meeting my advisor I was so grateful for it. She helped me with so much. And being a dual degree student, I have 3 advisors. I have a psychology advisor, a music advisor, and my honors advisor. So there's no shortage of people that are willing and able to help. And it's so nice to have someone to email with all of my random questions over the course of the year. So definitely so much help available for students.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to throw this one over to Bobby from the advisor perspective. When advisors meet with students during orientation, what are you hoping to accomplish with them that day?
So when you come to orientation, you're going to meet your college advisor, and your college advisor is going to be your partner from that day in orientation all the way through graduation. And at that very first meeting, what we're going to do is get to know you. We want to hear about your journey that led you to the College of Liberal Arts. And then we're going to talk about what this journey here in CLA is going to look like for you. We're going to help plan out your first semester of classes. We're going to help get you registered, most importantly, for those classes, and answer any questions that you have, maybe about transfer credits or AP credits, college in the schools, any prior credits you might have that are coming in, what requirements they're meeting, and what requirements you still need to complete.
Awesome. Thank you. So that's, Bobby, we're looking at orientation that day, but how do you and our advisors help support students throughout their time in CLA from orientation through graduation?
So the big way we think about it is we're your partner. We're your partner through thick and thin, and we're the insider that knows how to navigate the big system. College of Liberal Arts is a very large college. And so we know the ins and outs, the right person to talk to. We also recognize there might be a lot of bumps in the road. So we're going to make sure that you're paired and connected to the supports that you need to be a successful student your entire time here. I also think real clearly, like an advising relationship is both of us. So it's a student coming to the table, asking questions, talking about things that are working for you or aren't working for you, and then your advisor supporting and guiding you along that journey.
You mentioned a partnership, Bobby, and you kind of alluded to this in your last response, but what does a good partnership look like? What can our prospective, our admitted students, what should their expectations of themselves be in working with their advisor?
So a big thing about advising is we always think about it like just to give you a good image. Your academic advisor and you are in a vehicle. Your advisor is the one in the passenger seat. You as the student are the one in the driver's seat. You have access to the brakes, to the gas, to the steering wheel, all of those things. Your advisor's next to you. We've got maps. We know where detours could be. We know how to route you. We might say slow down. We might say speed up. We might guide you to some support resources along the way, but you're the one that's in charge. And so we're here to help you think about repercussions, right? To think about ways things could go. We're really here to help support your decision making, but you're the one that's going to make those decisions. We're going to be pretty intrusive initially in your first year. So you're going to meet us at orientation. We're going to put holds on you so that you have to come see us in your first year, so that you come see us before you can register for classes. And then after that point, we're going to expect that we've developed a relationship and you see the value of being able to come and talk to your partner and work through things. And then we're going to expect you to start scheduling the appointments and seeing us every semester through graduation. Like in an ideal world, that's what I want to do, is I want to see my students at least once a semester to see how things are going, to hear what's happening, and to know how I can be able to support to them and how I might be able to think about them big picture, right? When we meet with our students, we're not just talking about, here are the 4 classes you need to take. We're also very considerate about, hey, you might not have thought about this. Have you thought about this co-curricular? Have you thought about going and learning abroad and taking a trip and traveling and learning in some other ways? Have you thought about the student club or organization that you could be involved in? So we're really thinking about you holistically, about your wellness. Are you making friends? Are you connecting? Are you feeling like you've got a sense of belonging on campus? All of those pieces together. So we want you to come and have those conversations with us. We want you to feel free to come in and have those conversations, to schedule appointments, to send emails, to whatever you need. We're here to help you.
Thank you, Bobby. I think that's really helpful. Oftentimes we think, at least I did as a student, that advisors were just there to help me with my academics, but it's so much more than that. I'd like to bring Alex on stage. It's very odd to be remote right now. Alex, I am hoping you can talk a little bit more. The College of Liberal Arts is also home to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. program. Can you tell us about how students selected for this program are advised and how they're supported?
Thank you, Carolyn. Students in the MLK program go through an opt-in process. So when they answer, tell us about yourself survey, they go to the new student checklist, they get some information on how to apply. So there are 3 questions that they have to answer. And then the staff reviews them to look at their interest in a civil rights and social justice type advising office that are culturally responsive advisors in the office. All our academic advisors, through the various amount of professional development we've done, we're all culturally responsive advisors. So they do spend time with their advisors once they get here during orientation. They have college presentations for MLK, and being one of the oldest academic advising units on campus, not the only one, but one of the oldest, is that they form these relationships. And I have to ditto what Bobby said. It starts out as intrusive advising, but it also turns into relational advising, that cultural responsive advising, which develops a bond between the academic advisor and the student. So it also morphs into, we wear many hats of being their guides, their coaches, their mentors, and just forming those relationships with them throughout their 4 years, even though they might have a departmental advisor once they choose their major or minor.
And Alex, can you speak to, are there any, for our President's Emerging Scholars students, what interactions do students have with their advisors? And if it's different than their advisors within MLK, and what are students there experience? And then as learning communities and communities in general, how do students in these 2 programs form bonds with each other?
Yes, so PES is a little bit different. We still employ a relational advising, a cultural responsive lens, but it's different than MLK because that population is majority first generation low income students. So we have 4 academic advisors assigned that have a lower caseload with our students. So they're about 230, 234 per academic advisor. But I also have to give some credit when you talk about building relationships. It's done during Welcome Week in the FYE. We have 3 other outstanding CLA academic advisors that serve as instructors in our FYE, as well as our PES program specialists. So a little bit of the same with MLK as well, being assigned a smaller caseload with 6 academic advisors. But the way we build community with the students that come into either program is during that Welcome Week when you come to campus, or if it's online, hopefully it's on campus. We have activities for them to engage in, to get to know one another. But that FYE, which is taught face-to-face by MLK academic advisors and PES academic advisors, they're continuing to build that bond in the separate sections that they're in. But 4 times a semester for PES and MLK, we bring them all together for various presentations, various engagement opportunities, so they can continue to build community. Being in this COVID environment, we've had to be a little bit more intentional so that the impact is there building that community. So with a hybrid model of asynchronous and synchronous type learning, we teach one week, and then the groups, we have students assigned to groups where they're continuing to engage with each other during the other week. So it's hard, but we're doing it.
That's wonderful. And again, Alex, it really highlights that advising and everything's very community and relationship built. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Our last question before we move on to our next segment, I'm going to throw it back to Malika. Can you tell us a little bit about, welcome weeks? They follow orientation. What was your welcome week, which is going to look a little bit different potentially than what we had last year? What was it like for you, and what was it like meeting fellow CLA students for the first time?
Right. So I did Welcome Week in person, obviously, but I was also a Welcome Week leader this past year online, so I can speak to both experiences. But in terms of my Welcome Week, I was filled with nerves and excitement of moving away from home for the first time. And I had those fears, like, am I going to be lonely? Am I going to have people that that can support me? And Welcome Week just completely dashed all those fears, because it was so great to meet new people and even meet people that I'd met during orientation and just reconnect with them. And especially in the community of CLA, you meet students that automatically have shared experiences and have things in common with you where you just click right away. And, Welcome Week just served to make campus feel so much smaller, but in the best way. It made it feel more tight knit. I had my support system, or I was starting to build my support system. And so it made the University of Minnesota feel more like home. And especially during these unprecedented times, it's nice when you do go to Welcome Week, it's nice to have those activities where social interactions kind of built in, and you can start to create your support system, even though you might not be here in person to experience it yet. So we have things in place that will get you ready to experience your first year and get you meeting new people. So it's definitely a really great experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Snaps for our panelists. This was so great. Alex had talked a lot about how community continues to build in that first year experience. So we're going to actually transition to that and to learn more about what happens after orientation and Welcome Week, to learn more about first year experience. So Brian, take it away.
Okay, now you're ready to get your first year started at CLA. What will it be like? First off, everything will be new. New classes, new campus, maybe a new city, new friends, and definitely a new kind of schedule. We get it, it's a lot to process. For incoming freshmen, you will enroll in our first year experience program. This small group class, like your advising appointments, will introduce you to the opportunities you can take advantage of in CLA. It primes you to think through your academic and career goals and make the most of your 4 years here. More than anything though, the first year experience program establishes a support structure for you, giving you a community of advisors, counselors, and classmates who will stick with you through thick and thin and for long after your first year experience is over.
Who doesn't want to be skipping with Goldie? So fun. Thank you so much, Brian. So we have three wonderful panelists joining us today to discuss the first year experience in more detail. So our first panelist is Nathaniel Ashton Piper. And Nathaniel is a senior and will be graduating this year, so congratulations, studying professional journalism with a minor in Spanish studies. So we'll have him pop on screen here. All right, while we wait for Nathaniel, we'll move on to Cla. So Cla Haas is a student ambassador in the Office of Student Experience. There's Nathaniel. She is a junior, double majoring in sociology of law, criminology and deviance, and journalism with a minor in business law. So if Cla wants to pop up there.
Hello, hi everyone. I think it's doing well.
Wonderful, thank you, Cla. And lastly, we have Nanette Hanks, and Nanette is the College of Liberal Arts Assistant Dean for Curriculum. So thank you, panelists. There's Nanette, wonderful. So we're actually going to start with Nathaniel. So Nathaniel, we saw that every CLA student takes a first year experience, or FYE as we shorten it. They take these courses to prepare them to make the most of their 4 years here. What do you remember most about your own time in the first year experience program?
Yeah, we got to do a lot of different things in the first year experience. There's an assignment that you have to do every week that's usually due at the end of every week. And it really kind of helps you to reflect on kind of what you want to make of your next 4 years in terms of kind of catapulting yourself towards a career. So you get to do a lot of reflection on that, whether it be writing or attending Youth Thrive events, as I think Kayla is going to talk about. The Youth Thrive events were definitely really memorable for me. And then also kind of getting to communicate with the other people in your FYE class. Usually it was through some sort of kind of discussion post where you kind of get to learn a lot about the other people that are in your classes through what their interests are, what they're thinking about majoring in. So those were experiences that I can definitely remember from my first year experience, and whether it was from 1001, which is the first semester experience class, or the 1002 class that you take the next semester.
Awesome, thank you. That was a perfect transition over to Cla. So Cla, you're a section leader for first year experience courses. What are some of the things you're able to help new students with during their first year at the University of Minnesota?
I can honestly say I'm just here for whatever a student needs. They can come talk to me every single week to get their points for their assignments. So they can either go to an in-person event or a remote event right now, or they can go and meet with me individually and talk to me about that week's curriculum. Or sometimes they'll have like a big group meeting with all the other people within their section. I mean, I have students come up and meet with me about 4 to 5 times a semester, but they're only required to about once per semester, and they can just ask me anything they need to. I've helped students register for classes. Every single student I would look over and see what their interests are, what their majors are, and then I would come up with student groups that I think they might be interested in and talk to them about setting them up for success within those. I'm really just like a resource for whatever they need me for.
That's wonderful. So you talked about how you assist in building community with assisting with finding student groups and things like that. How would you say the first year experience in general helps students find communities within CLA, but also at the university?
I know, I mean, last year I had 2 of my students that actually ended up becoming roommates. So it's just a way for you to make friends, to interact with other students your age, a lot of who have similar interests to you and similar majors, minors, academic interests, other interests as well. I guess just actually being able to connect with your peers too, especially right now, is really important too. You know, students are excited to actually interact with each other and talk to each other, even if it does look a little bit differently right now. I would just say as a whole, just having a sense of belonging and being around others like you and having that sense of guidance is the biggest thing.
Thank you so much. Last question for you. Nathaniel had alluded to what we call Youth Thrive. Can you explain what Youth Thrive is and maybe share what your most experience or your most exciting event was?
Yeah, so Youth Thrives are events that students are required to attend throughout the semester. So there's actually only one they have to go to. It's totally optional, whatever stands out to them or intrigues them. It can be anything from bingo to a pretty professional information session. I know I went to a pre-law one my freshman year, and so I just basically got to talk to law school admissions counselors, and I would just ask them questions about what they look for when students are applying and things like that. So it was just very informative. But I have other students who have gone to escape rooms and done bingo night. So it's basically just like to encourage students to do something different or do something they might not normally would, and step outside of their comfort zone.
Thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate it. I'm going to throw this one over to Nanette in terms of CLA experiences and curriculum. So you have a very comprehensive view of CLA experiences in and outside of the classroom. First year experience introduces new students to a lot of those experiences. Can you give us some examples?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you today. And thank you, Carolyn. And thank you to the other speakers as well, Kayla and Nathaniel. So the FYE is specifically designed to really help students understand all the opportunities that they have in the college. And as you said, that's inside and outside the classroom. So not only do we spend time in the FYE, and we're all using that acronym, and we're talking about the first year experience course that all incoming freshmen are required to take. And they're really going to help you think about the courses that you're going to take, the courses that you're going to sign up. Sometimes when you're faced with the 1,500 courses that CLA offers every semester, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. But the FYE is really there to help you to look through, sort through, along with your advisor or your peer advisor in the FYE, and figure out which course is the right one for you. In addition to that, the FYE really is going to teach you about the many opportunities that we have on campus. Things like internships, learning abroad, clubs and organizations, even intramural sports and activities. And it's a big campus. So the FYE will help you learn to navigate all the possibilities. You might even see me at the Learning Abroad Fair in late September, where I'll be telling students about my course in May 2022. I will be taking students to Spain, as I have every other year for the last 10 years, and we'll be hiking 300 miles on the Camino de Santiago. So if you come to the Learning Abroad Fair, be sure to look for me, but you'll see so many great opportunities that we have for students for learning abroad. And there are many other opportunities like that.
That's wonderful. That sounds incredible. We've talked, and Kayla mentioned this too, about different opportunities and being intentional. So how can we ensure and how does CLA help students be intentional about exploring new things, learning new things, and how do they help them choose what's right for them to start exploring?
And that's really, I think Kayla talked about that a little bit, and they're going to give the FYE, your section leaders will be giving you prompts every week that help you to visit locations and different activities. So it might be more challenging to do things all by yourself, but when you're with your FYE cohort, it's a lot more fun and much less scary to try something new, like walk into an office where you don't know anybody and ask questions. So by setting this all up ahead of time for you, it really makes it easier for you to engage in these activities, because you know everybody else in your cohort is going to be doing it, or maybe you're going to do it in pairs or 3 or 4 of you at the same time. So that's the way we set it up, so that you have this ready-made cohort to be able to try things that might be a little bit scary just to do on your own. So we want to make it easy for you to walk up to an information table and ask questions, or to explore different kinds of things. And because they're all prearranged, it makes it really easy to connect with the different opportunities.
So in addition to learning some bravery in groups, how have you seen students connect what they gain from FYE to other courses that they've taken?
So I can speak from my own personal experience and the students that are in my class. And I've seen students in my classes use many of the skills they developed in the FYE, like time management, reflection on assignments, the way that they answer the assignments that I give them. I can see all of the things that they've learned in the FYE, and they're putting those into practice. Their willingness to step out of what's comfortable and try something new, like boiled octopus. So I see many of the skills that they gained in the FYE really play themselves out in my course as we're having this great experience together. And remember, the FYE is designed specifically to prepare students for success. So not only in their courses, but in being part of our vibrant university community. So we're preparing you to be successful in your courses with your time management skills and your research skills, and then also to be part of the community that you're going to be in for the next 4 years by joining clubs and understanding all these different opportunities. So another example is that my students in their FYE learned how to ask for letters of recommendation because they'd practiced that when they were first freshmen, and they held on to that skill. And when the opportunity presented itself, they were ready. And so I oftentimes get requests for letters of recommendation from students in my class because they're not afraid to ask. They know exactly what they need and who they need to go to get it. And I'm more than happy to provide those for my students.
Thank you so much, Nanette. We're going to throw it back to Nathaniel to talk. We've talked a lot about the opportunities, but Nathaniel, what are some of the things introduced during FYE that you personally decided to take advantage of?
So when I was thinking about how I was going to kind of answer these, I was like, what were some things in my, first year experience class that I can remember? I looked back on some of those memories and some of those emails that I sent back and forth. And I would actually say Gold Pass or Handshake. I think it used to be called Gold Pass, now it's Handshake, which is how university students, it's a way that we can connect with employers, register for job and internship fairs, and it's actually something that you're required to do as part of the first year experience, is upload your resume to Handshake. And that's something that it's one of those things when you're a first year student that you're like, oh, I'll do it now. I'll start looking for these things next year, maybe in the future. But that's something that I thought was really valuable just to kind of introduce to us early and kind of get us thinking like, just because you're a first year student, it doesn't mean you can't be thinking about your future. It doesn't mean you can't be planning for building your resume up so that by the time you're a junior or senior ready to graduate, that you have those experiences down, you have built those connections. And the Handshake is even something that I'm using a lot even now. It's the platform that we're hosting the job and internship fair on. I think it's next Friday. So it's something that I still use, and I'm grateful that it was introduced to me during the first year experience.
Thank you, Nathaniel. That's a perfect way to transition to our next topic. So first, some snaps for our panelists. Thank you both. Thank you all of you, Kayla, Nanette, and Nathaniel. One of the most common questions that we're asked in the Office of Admissions, and our faculty, our staff, and advisors are asked is, how are you going to prepare me for my career? And how can I ensure that my investment into an education at the University of Minnesota is going to be worth it? And here to tell you more about how career preparation is really built into everything that we do is Brian again.
From orientation to first year experience and throughout your time in CLA, our faculty and staff will work closely with you to make sure you'll be able to tell a certain story, the story of why your liberal arts education gives you a competitive edge in any job market. This is what we call career readiness. No matter which major you choose in CLA, your experiences both inside and outside of the classroom will combine to build 10 core competencies. Having all of them is what will make you stand out as a candidate for jobs and graduate programs. We're here to help you connect what you've done across CLA and translate its value into the language of employers. So as you finish your CLA journey, you'll be ready for what's next.
Thank you so much. So as Brian suggests, career readiness and preparation is really at the core of everything that CLA does in a CLA education. And I think Nathaniel and Kayla's examples of how they participated even in their first year in learning more about what opportunities were out there and how to get engaged is just one example of that. But we have three wonderful panelists to tell us more and to cover this in more detail. So I'll introduce them. First, we have Marguerite Arbogast, And Marguerite is a sophomore studying theater arts. So we'll hold for her to give a wave.
Hello, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marguerite. We have Erica Teely, who is a senior career counselor within the University of Minnesota College of Liberal Arts. Wonderful. Thank you, Erica. And lastly, we have Yusuf Ghanem, who is a CLA alumni. Yusuf studied economics when he was with us in the College of Liberal Arts and is currently working at Target as an inventory analyst.
Thanks for having me, Carolyn. Appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we're going to start with Marguerite. So Marguerite, you are a peer advisor in the CLA Career Services Office. What do you like about helping other CLA students prepare for a job search?
Thank you, Carolyn. I would say my favorite thing about conducting appointments with students is watching the light bulb moment happen. There's always that moment where the student's confidence just skyrockets because they realize how much they actually bring to the table. Especially for college students, starting their career path can feel really intimidating at first because it feels like employers are looking for perfection or they're not really sure how they can talk about their experiences. In CLA, a student gathers amazing experiences of all kinds, and even if they're not directly related to the field they're exploring, that doesn't mean it's not relevant. In fact, employers want to hear about all of those different things because they want to know what you've learned as an employee and as a human being. So what the peer advisors try to do really is help people professionally brag about themselves. Really, that's what we do. And that's one of my favorite things about being a peer advisor is that moment where the student goes, oh, now I know exactly how to talk about myself. So I feel 10 times more confident and employers should want me.
I love that, the professional bragging. I mean, we could all learn to do that a little bit more. Thank you so much, Marguerite. To talk about it more from, a senior career counselor's perspective, Erica, do you mind talking a bit more about career management? It's one of the 10 career competencies that we have in CLA. What does it mean?
Yeah, so a career management is the active engagement of career exploration, of gaining experience, and really thinking about what are the next steps in your career journey. And to play off of what Marguerite had said, it's really combining what you've learned in the classroom, what you've learned outside of the classroom, putting it all together and really being able to articulate who you are, what you're about, what you want to do, and having all of the tools to get there, not only to launch into career, to graduate school, but really tools that you can take with you as a liberal arts graduate for the rest of your life and the rest of your employment journey.
Do you mind speaking to some of the ways that, we've talked about it a bit in terms of career and foundation, but some specific ways that CLA makes it easier for students to take steps in their preparation?
Yeah, I made a long laundry list and I had to kind of cut myself off because I know we only have so much time. I feel like I'm probably professionally bragging now. But like many folks have mentioned through the FYE course as freshmen, so we really try to implement curricular career opportunities, and not just for freshmen, which we do a lot. And Nathaniel, thanks for calling out all the ways you've gotten that out of career services and how we've collaborated with folks. But for example, I work with the Spanish department, and all students in Spanish 1004 have talked about the competencies, have talked to people in Spanish or listened to people in Spanish and about their own careers. We have faculty who engage with career curriculum and implement it from the arts to STEM across the board. In your senior year, you have to do a capstone course, and we're bringing in career folks then. What else? We recently launched a My Career Management tool, and you answer several questions and then it spits out like, this is what you should think about doing next. And a student can say, okay, I want to work on these 3 areas. And then you can set a reminder. It goes into your Google Calendar, you get emailed. So we really want to make it easy for you to engage with career. We have customized events by departments. So I work with all the languages and global studies. And so we try to put together events like, what does it mean to work internationally and bring alums on board? And many events where we bring employers and alums to campus for specific department events and generally for CLA. And some of that could also look like bringing employers and alums to campus to do practice interviews, because as we know, interviews are really uncomfortable. And so how can you just see that employers are people? And so just getting that repetition and practice without the stress is something else that we can offer. We have scholarships for paid and unpaid internships, because we know that some folks really have barriers to being able to work and do internships, and you have to choose. So that's another way we support students. And finally, we offer career courses for really not as much for freshmen, though freshmen can take it, but for sophomores, juniors, and seniors with a variety of courses to support you on your career journey.
Wow. So it is built into every facet. So curriculum, opportunities, even just ways to learn more about yourself, which is always going to be a great tool.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there's a community piece to this too. So Erica, can you speak a little bit or talk a little bit more about the CLA career field communities?
Yeah, so this is something we launched, perhaps 2 years ago now. And there are 8 career fields, and we've done a lot of research, and they make up what makes up the working world. So healthcare and science, nonprofit and advocacy, tech, business, arts, communications and media, education, and government and law. And then through career courses, through FYE, through other avenues, students are forced in a sense to sign up for these. You can always opt out later, and you can sign up for multiple. And so we have career field events. We have career field newsletters, as I mentioned, in which you're getting information on what events are happening around campus, what internships and jobs should we spotlight. We can spotlight alums and employers who work in these career fields to really give you an idea of how else can you make yourself a really great candidate for what are those next steps. And oftentimes, I would say oftentimes, students know that they want to go into a certain area, but don't know what that means. I just met with a student who's like, I really want to be in publishing, but what does that mean? And so when you start broader, you can start to drill down and understand the nuances of a field. And those career field newsletters really allow students to explore and to have resources in front of them to be able to make the next best step for themselves.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know, we've heard a lot about what's available. Let's hear from an alumni who was able to find a position and, you know, was able to experience all of this. So Yusuf, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear more about how when you chose your major, did you have a particular career field in mind? As Erica mentioned, sometimes it's easier to start broader, but I'd love to hear more about your experience.
Yeah, I think those are all very great questions. Let me start off by saying, did I have my career in mind that I'm in now? Absolutely not. And what I want to assure everyone on this call is that that is not something that you have to have buttoned up since day one. I mean, fun fact, like the most popular major that students come into at the University of Minnesota is actually undecided. And that's because there's so many majors. I mean, just in CLA, there's hundreds and hundreds of majors that you could enroll in. And that's why it's such a big program. As how I found my way to found my major. I think the big thing is really finding what your skill set is, right? Like I'm economics and statistics, but I'm not a great writer, right? That's not a major that requires a lot of writing. Like my sister, who's 16 years old, is probably a better writer than I am, to be quite honest with you. And I think that finding your skills, finding what gives you energy, are just all very important things. I think ultimately it just comes down to like doing what you love. And I think it sounds so cliche, but these next 4 years or however many years you're going to be in college are going to be very long for you if you don't choose a major that you love. And that's why I would leverage career counselors like Erica, career peer advisors like Marguerite to help you like build resumes, build cover letters, think about like what kind of majors you're interested in, introduce you to the resources that you want. In terms of getting into this, do you want me to touch on like how I got into my specific career as well, or just major? So for career, I think the big thing that did it for me was doing a lot of research, leveraging like Handshake, Gold Pass, and doing a lot of networking as well. I think just meeting as many people as you can. And luckily I met somebody at Target who, one thing led to another, and through various correspondences, I was offered an internship and then eventually a full-time job at Target. So long story short, I know it's very long-winded, but leveraging resources, picking a major you love, and just taking it a day at a time. Like, this is not a race. You should always want to do what you love to do in college. And I think college is a place to learn and have fun. And I think that's how you make the best of it and find the major and the career that you love.
That's wonderful. I was going to ask, what are some of the things that you did or that you took advantage of, but you touched on a lot of that. And a foundation to this is finding something that you're passionate about. And what you found that you were passionate about, that major, that area landed within the liberal arts. So I'm wondering if there's anything that you've seen on the job that proves that studying the liberal arts is good for an individual's career.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of things. I think that the idea of liberal arts is, I think, to make us educated on like social issues, like whatever dynamic that comes from. Like, take economics, right? Take statistics. Like, it's very math heavy, but there are also skills that translate into the real world, like using Excel, understanding how social dynamics work, understanding how to think analytically and think in systems, right? Like, not just thinking in terms of like one problem, being able to apply it in many different ways. I think those are very useful. Even things such as like time management, understanding how to write correspondences to professors, understanding how to read a text and get the most out of it, knowing how to build presentations and communicate those. That's something that CLA really stresses, is like being able to, like, of course you have like the technical skills that come from like econ or maybe like theater, like someone like Marguerite would know, right? But there's also a lot of things that translate into the real world that you learn over time. And you find that you develop those skills as you take your fundamental like 1,000 courses. And then as you get into the electives, you realize that you mature in terms of what you know about the liberal arts, and more like you develop that way of thinking that helps you succeed in the real world, which I think is going to be so important.
Thank you so much. So you talked about how a liberal arts broadly is so impactful and helpful. Can you speak to how CLA specifically in your journey within the College of Liberal Arts has helped you in your career?
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely connected me to a lot of people in my career, whether it's through career counselors or networking. I would say just even having those resources available to me at career services, and like being able to leverage professors for information on different careers has been super useful for me. I would say being in CLA specifically, just it helps you gain a broader understanding of the different types of careers that you can get into as well. I'm somebody who I think that you can really get into any career you want if you have the resources to learn more about it and to network with people. And I believe CLA has a really great infrastructure for that. Just having the like breadth of courses I can take, for example, like everything from like economics to biology to like philosophy, everything like that. To having like a career services center, like that is something that a lot of like our parents and our parents' parents didn't grow up with at all. And I think that having that as a resource and having a institution such as CLA, where you have a variety of courses and you have a variety of ways to learn and get connected to people in those career fields, is just such a big thing.
Thank you. We're very proud and very excited about our 10 core competencies when it comes to career readiness and career preparedness. Can you talk about how those competencies have been applied to your work and your career?
Definitely, yeah. I think that the core competencies, this is so interesting, right? Like you can apply them to so many different things in your career. And like, I like to think of them as like life lessons too, and not just like career competencies. I think that a lot of preparing for your career is like developing competencies such as like thinking analytically or being able to do like more of the technical things. But I think being able to think in a diverse mindset, like that competency is becoming a huge, huge thing. Like everyone on this call, like be prepared for diversity and inclusion to be a very big initiative, if it isn't already, at a lot of companies that you will be interning at or working at in the future. Those things are huge. And as our society, as the US develops and companies change, like I feel like the core competencies give you those skills to be able to adapt and join the workforce and like be as prepared as possible, whether it's like, yeah, thinking analytically, thinking in terms of like diverse skill sets, being able to just essentially like think holistically and kind of have a very holistic sense of, hey, my major doesn't just equip me with technical skills, but it also gives me the ability to think on a broader scale in terms of like, yeah, diversity, things of that nature. I think that's so important.
That's amazing. It's both personal and professional competencies. And I think that's a big part of a four-year institution is growing and learning, not just academically.
Definitely.
So thank you so much, Yusuf. I'm going to throw our last question back to Marguerite. Marguerite, we've been talking a lot about the career advantages of a CLA education and personal advantages that our graduates are able to, tell their job interviewees or their interviewers, their story of how they became so career ready in studying in CLA. What story would you share with the individual interviewing you about your experience in CLA?
Oh boy. Well, for me, I think the most important thing about my CLA story is that being here has helped me develop my versatility and allow me to explore all of the things that I am interested in. And that was really important to me when I selected a college program. I didn't want to be locked in a box. I didn't want to be stuck on like a very particular track for 4 years. I wanted to have some room to expand. And when I first came to the U, I pretty much had no idea how to practically apply all of the things that I was interested in or how to get started on those paths. I had some experiences outside of my theater major, but I didn't know how to market myself. I mean, when I applied to this position in career services, I was writing a cover letter and I'm like, I do improv. So in CLA, I've not only been able to keep myself involved in theater through the pandemic, which in and of itself is pretty great, but I've been able to explore my academics and try completely new things. I've never been in an advisory position before, and now that's a major part of my life. I do it 4 times a week. So in CLA, I would say the short version is I've not only become a well-rounded student and a well-rounded artist, but I would say, and I hope, a well-rounded human being.
Amazing. Thank you all, panelists. Thank you so much. Marguerite, Erica, Yusuf, career preparedness is such a huge part of an education and feeling that, for return on investment, right? We want to make sure that we are getting what we pay for, so to speak. So thank you so much for really providing some stories, some evidence, your thoughts on how it's part of not just the curriculum, not just part of academics, but part of everyday life. So snaps again to our panelists. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Brian here shortly until we make a transition into next steps.
All right, everyone. Like Carolyn said, let's give a huge virtual round of applause to our panelists and team who helped to bring all this experience to y'all virtually. It's a lot of work during COVID, so snaps to them. Yes. With that being said, I want to thank you all again for joining us this evening. We hope that this is giving you a better glimpse of how you'll fit into the CLA family. Like many of the people who joined us on this call today during the Q&A and presentation, we want to let you know that we are a community of support for all of you. From our students, staff, and community, we cannot emphasize that we are invested in you. From your personal growth to your professional growth, everything holistically, we are here for you. At the end of our presentation, you'll find our contact information, so please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. With that being said, I know some of y'all are gonna have some questions about next steps, like where do I go from here? So here's Carolyn again to walk you through all of that.
You make it really tough to follow you, Brian. I'm not gonna lie. So some next steps here, folks. So first, congratulations again on being admitted. We hope that you'll join us in the fall. Important aspects of becoming a member of the class of 2025 is to apply for financial aid as soon as possible. So the priority deadline is March 1st, so a couple of weeks here for the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. Important to note that we continue to review students for scholarships and honors consideration through the end of March. But in terms of qualifying for federal financial aid, really important that you fill out that FAFSA. Confirm your enrollment by May 1st. That is the most exciting click, when you confirm your enrollment and decide to be a Golden Gopher for the fall. A couple of deadlines that are important there before May 1st is to apply for housing. So you can apply for housing without confirming your enrollment. The benefits of applying early, it is preference-based, so the earlier that you apply, the more likely you are to get one of your preferences. But you are guaranteed housing through May 1st. So we have a freshman guarantee program that guarantees that so long as you apply by May 1st for your housing, you are guaranteed housing for the fall. One important thing to note here, and we didn't discuss it a whole lot, are our living learning communities. And if you have questions about living learning communities, I really recommend reaching out to the Office of Admissions. We're happy to share some more information, or going to the housing website directly. But our living learning communities priority deadline is actually March 1st. I apologize, it says March 31st on here, but it is March 1st. So important, same timeline as that FAFSA, March 1st for our living learning communities. Next steps, we heard an awful lot about orientation and weeks of welcome or welcome week. Important to attend those this summer, and to submit your final high school transcript by July 1st. Thank you so much for joining us today. Between its award-winning professors, incredible academic program opportunities, and outstanding student services, which were highlighted today, the College of Liberal Arts really does have so much to offer. We'd love to have you join our community this fall. And thank you again for joining us remotely on this Friday afternoon. It's been an absolute honor to showcase the College of Liberal Arts, and congratulations again.